And we're back. I haven't turned out an episode of What Am I Doing and Why in a while. I could go into a whole spiel on why not, but basically. I'm busy! So, in the last episode, a very interesting back and forth occurred in the comments section. I'm just going to put a little bit of it here, but I didn't include the entire conversation, so feel free to track that down and check it out. But basically, a little bit of debate about the notch use that I was incorporating, and it made me realize that there were some things that I didn't clarify about what I was doing and why. And good on these guys for bringing it up. This is exactly one of the things that I wanted to do these things for, to get like conversations going, because I am not the end all be all god of rigging or anything like that. I certainly can be wrong, and I am awfully human. That being said, let's take a closer look into what I was doing and why I thought it was a good idea for what I was dealing with. So I'm opting to use a deep, narrow notch. There's two components to that: the depth of the notch and the narrowness of the notch. Let's look at the depth of the notch first. As far as I know, it's a fairly well documented concept. It's the undermining of the center of gravity of a straight up piece of timber as outlined in the Fundamentals of General Tree Work, the first place I saw it, aka the Bible of modern arboriculture. Basically, if you have an upright piece of wood, if you make the notch a little deeper than the center of the gravity, the weight of the piece will actually take itself as you put the back cut in. You can go ahead and read up on this. Jerry explains it a lot better than I do, so do other more scholarly arborists. And here's just a few examples of me using it on other trees with crappy notches. Anyways, the reason I chose it for the dead pine that I was in is because I didn't want to pull line to tip these pieces and put more lateral force on the trunk. I didn't want to make snap cuts for the same reason, but I did want the wood to go over, and it seemed like the easiest way to get it off the cut. The next component, the narrowness of the notch, is a blend of a little bit of literature and a little bit of like regional hearsay. It's talked about a bit in the Fundamentals of General Tree Work and a little bit in the rigging book by ISA, but mainly as a 45-degree notch, as a top is tipping, will put the most force on the trunk. But it doesn't really say much more than that. I know people have heard different things in different regions for different reasons. I've heard that a more open notch will cause the top to hold on longer, lurch the whole stem forward even more before releasing, and then catapult it backwards even more dramatically. So one surmises sort of this regional knowledge, or maybe this patchwork, I don't know what to call it, just sort of people think this reverse logic, like, oh, if a bigger notch makes even more force, maybe a narrow notch will make even less. And I've had, I don't know, psychosomatic experiences where I think that's the case. I've sent tops with narrow notches and it feels like there's less force. But as Jerry does bring up, and this is talking about felling whole trees, that a narrow notch causes more fiber pull, and also highlights the fatness of the hinge as being of a lot more importance. All that to say, I basically have no hard evidence or numbers to support the use of a narrow notch, and it seems like in the comment section people are working on that. Matt Foley and I think Ryan as well, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that's what we need more of in this industry. So to go back to why I chose it, there are also some stipulations going on with the tree that I was doing. A narrow notch on wood isn't necessarily a great idea. It's not the same as a top. Top does have presumably the weight of the brush to carry the momentum. A piece of wood does not. Oftentimes you'll have a notch close, depending on season and species, and not break, and that'll put you in an even worse situation. I was in a very dead pine, so I wasn't worried about that. Plus I was chasing the piece off the hinge, like cutting through the hinge as it's tipping, so there's even less holding. And that was the reason I selected that. And it didn't feel like there was very much force on it from it tipping at all. I mean, you can see it in the slow-mo, it might look like that, but not at all. But in these other videos, these little examples of me sending tops, you can see the variability in use of narrow, deep notches, and one of them tree moves a little, one of them tree moves a lot. So the jury's out, but thanks for debating and listening, and new episodes of What Am I Doing and Why coming soon.